Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Deep Dive, where we like to, well, deep dive into all sorts of interesting topics.
It's right.
If you're new here, be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes.
Yeah, definitely do that.
Today, we're going to tackle something that I'm sure a lot of you are interested in, and that's prescription drug costs
Yeah.
and how to maybe bring those costs down a little bit.
How to make them a little easier to manage.
It can be so confusing.
Absolutely. Navigating prescription costs can feel like, I don't know, reading some sort of ancient language.
Yeah, it really can. So let's say I'm just, a regular person and I've got this prescription and it seems really expensive. What's the first thing I should do?
Well, one of the most important things, and probably the easiest thing you can do, is to ask for a generic medication whenever possible.
Okay, yeah, generics. But, I've heard people say that maybe generics aren't as good.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that too.
Like they don't work as well or whatever.
Right.
Is there any truth to that?
Um, Not really. I mean, think of it this way. The active ingredients, the stuff that actually makes the medication work, is exactly the same.
Oh, okay.
It's just, maybe the name is different or the packaging. It might look a little different.
So it's like the same song,
Yeah, like buying the same song.
but on a different platform.
Exactly. You're getting the same thing, but you're paying a lot less.
Okay, so how much less are we talking here?
Well, on average, you can save maybe 30 to 80% less than the brand name.
Wow.
So, for example, if you need an allergy medication, let's say, and the brand name costs you like, I don't know, $60 a month,
Yeah,
the generic version of that same medication could be like $10.
that's huge.
Yeah, it's a really big difference.
Okay, so switching to generics is almost always a good idea.
I would say so, yeah. Definitely talk to your doctor, of course, to make sure that a generic is right for you.
Right, of course. Yeah.
But in most cases, generics are just as effective and they can really save you a lot of money.
That's great advice.
Mhm.
Okay, so what if I'm, trying to get the generic and it's still really expensive?
Okay, well, then I think the next step is to really try to understand your insurance plan. It's like planning a trip, right?
Oh, okay.
You want to have a map. You want to know where you're going.
Okay, all right.
And so with insurance, most plans have what's called a formulary.
Formulary.
Yeah, it's basically a list of medications that they cover, and those medications are divided into tiers.
Oh, right, the tiers, yeah.
Usually it's, like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3,
Uh-huh.
and each tier has a different copay, the amount you pay when you pick up your prescription.
So the higher the tier, the more I'm going to pay.
Exactly. So tier 1 medications are going to be the most affordable.
Okay.
So for example, let's say you need a medication for, I don't know, high blood pressure.
Yeah. Okay.
If that medication is a generic on tier 1, your copay might be like $5.
$5.
But if it's a brand name drug on tier 3, then you're looking at maybe $50 or more.
Right, so it's a really big difference.
Yeah, it's a huge difference. So understanding that formulary can really make a big difference in how much you end up paying for your meds.
Okay, so got it. Understand my insurance, use generics when I can.
Right.
But sometimes, even with those strategies, my prescription costs can still be really high.
I hear you. And this might sound a little strange,
Yeah.
but sometimes the best thing you can do is actually not use your insurance at all.
Oh, you serious?
I know it sounds crazy, but there are times when paying cash for your medication can actually be cheaper than using your insurance.
Okay, I've never thought about that.
Yeah, so some pharmacies like Walmart, Costco, they have these programs where they offer deep discounts on certain generic medications,
Oh.
but you have to pay in cash. There's actually a recent study where I think it was a secret shopper found a generic blood pressure medication that was like $80 cheaper when they paid cash compared to using insurance at that same pharmacy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a big difference. So it's definitely worth checking out.
I never knew that. So how do I, know if paying cash is the best option for me?
Well, there are tools online like GoodRK and Blink Health.
Oh, yeah. I've seen those.
Yeah, they're great resources. You can plug in your medication and they'll show you the cash prices at different pharmacies in your area, and you can compare that to what your copay would be with your insurance.
Oh, that's so helpful. Okay, so I'm starting to get a little bit of a handle on this. We've got generics, we've got our insurance formularies, we've got the cash option.
That's right.
I'm feeling empowered already.
Good.
What else is out there?
Well, there's a whole other world out there that we haven't even touched on yet, and that is the world of Medicare Part D.
Oh, yeah. Medicare Part D. I've heard a lot about that.
It's a big one, yeah.
It's supposed to be really complicated.
It can be, yeah, but don't worry, we're going to break it all down for you. So stick with us. We'll be right back after the break.
You won't want to miss it. And we're back for more of the deep dive. We're talking about how to save money on prescription drugs. And, it's a lot to think about, but we're getting through it.
Yeah, we've already covered a lot of ground. Generics,
Yeah.
insurance, those cash discounts, that can really make a difference.
Yeah, definitely.
But now we're going to dive into something that I know a lot of people find really confusing, and that's Medicare Part D.
Oh, yeah, Medicare Part D. It's like this mythical beast.
It kind of is. People hear about it and they get scared, but really, it's not as complicated as you might think. It's just like extra protection for your prescription costs if you're on original Medicare.
So it's like insurance on top of your insurance.
Exactly, yeah. But it does have, its own set of rules and things to understand, like formularies and tiers, all that stuff we've been talking about.
So how do you even choose the right Part D plan? Like, where do you start?
Yeah, there are a lot of options out there, which can make it feel overwhelming. But there are resources to help you compare, like the Medicare Plan Finder on Medicare.gov.
Okay, so there's a website where I can see all the plans and compare them.
Yeah, and you can put in your medications and it'll show you like what your costs would be with different plans.
That's pretty handy.
Mm.
What are some common mistakes that people make when they're choosing a Part D plan?
Well, a lot of people just look at the monthly premium, how much it costs each month,
Right.
and they go for the cheapest one. But that's not always the best strategy.
Right. It's got to be more than just the premium.
Yeah, sometimes a slightly higher premium can actually save you money in the long run.
Oh, okay. How so?
Well, you have to look at things like the deductible, the copays, and what tier your medications are on.
Right.
Sometimes a plan with a higher premium might have lower copays for your specific medications.
So it's really about the total cost.
Right. Think of it like buying a car, you don't just look at the sticker price.
Right. You got to think about the maintenance.
Exactly. You got to think about gas, insurance, all that stuff. Another mistake people make is forgetting to review their plan every year, during open enrollment.
Yeah. Things change.
Yeah, your needs change, your medications change, prices change, and formularies change, all kinds of stuff. So it's really important to review your plan every year and make sure it still works for you.
Okay. That makes sense. Now let's talk about the donut hole.
Ah, yes, the donut hole.
I hear that phrase all the time. What is the donut hole?
Yeah.
And why should I care?
It's basically a gap in coverage. Like once you and your plan have spent a certain amount on your drugs, you enter this coverage gap and you have to pay a larger share of the cost for your medications until you reach a certain out-of-pocket limit.
So it's like I'm cruising along thinking I'm covered, and then all of a sudden, bam, I'm in the donut hole.
Pretty much, yeah. It can be a surprise. But the good news is the donut hole is gradually closing thanks to the Affordable Care Act.
So it's not going to be as bad as it used to be.
That's right. But it's still important to, be aware of it and choose a plan that can help you minimize your risk of falling into the donut hole, especially if you take expensive medications.
Okay, good to know. So we've got our traditional pharmacies, but now there's this whole world of online pharmacies. What's the deal with those?
Yeah, they've become really popular, haven't they? And for good reason. They can offer a lot of convenience and often have lower prices.
Okay, but how do you know if an online pharmacy is legitimate? Like, how do you know it's safe?
Yeah, that's a really important question. You got to be careful because not all online pharmacies are created equal. A key thing to look for is accreditation.
Accreditation.
Yeah, like by the National Association of Boards of Pharmacy. They have a program called the Pharmacy Verified Websites Program. It's called VIPPS.
Oh, okay. VIPPS.
Yeah, it's basically a seal of approval. It means that the pharmacy meets certain standards and you can be more confident that it's legitimate.
So look for the VIPPS seal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a good way to know if you're dealing with a reputable online pharmacy.
Okay. And besides, making sure it's a legitimate pharmacy, what other things should I consider when choosing an online pharmacy?
Well, price is obviously a big one, right? Online pharmacies often have lower overhead costs than your traditional brick-and-mortar pharmacy.
Yeah, no rent to pay.
Exactly. So they can often pass those savings on to you. But you do have to factor in shipping costs.
Right.
Because sometimes those shipping costs can eat into your savings, especially for small orders. And then there's the whole convenience factor. You can order your medications from home, have them delivered to your door.
Yeah, it's definitely convenient.
Yeah, especially if you have mobility issues or you live in a rural area.
Right. Or just a busy life.
Yeah, exactly. But If you really value that personal relationship with your pharmacist, being able to ask questions in person, then a traditional pharmacy might be a better fit.
Yeah, you go in, you say hi.
Exactly. So it's really about finding what works best for you, weighing the pros and cons.
So there's no one right answer. It's about figuring out what fits my needs.
Exactly. And your preferences. It's your health, it's your money, it's your choice.
Okay, so we've talked about generics, insurance formularies, paying cash, Medicare Part D, even online pharmacies. Is there anything else we need to know about saving money on prescriptions?
There is. There's one more strategy that I think a lot of people overlook, and that's using discount programs and patient assistance
Oh,
programs.
yeah. Discount programs, PAPs. I've heard those terms before, but
Yeah.
I don't really know what they are.
Okay, so discount programs, think of those as like your secret weapon for saving money on your medications. They offer coupons, rebates, all sorts of savings opportunities.
Really? Like how much are we talking about here?
Well, it can vary a lot, but sometimes you can even get your medications for free.
Free. That sounds amazing. Okay, so how do these discount programs work? Do you have to sign up for something? Do you have to pay a fee?
Nope. Most of them are completely free to use. You just create an account, you search for your medication, and they show you a list of discounts at pharmacies near you. Then you can print out a coupon or show it on your phone at the pharmacy.
That's so easy. Are there any catches? Like, are there any limitations?
Well, the discounts can vary depending on the medication, the pharmacy, and your location. So it's always good to compare prices from different programs, make sure you're getting the best deal, and keep in mind that usually the discounts don't apply towards your insurance deductible or out-of-pocket maximum.
Right.
But even with those limitations, they can still save you a lot of money.
That's great advice. So now let's talk about PAPs, patient assistance programs. How are those different from discount programs?
So discount programs, anyone can use them.
Uh,
But patient assistance programs are specifically for people who are having a really hard time affording their medications.
okay, so if you're really struggling financially,
Exactly. They're usually offered by pharmaceutical companies, and they can provide your medications for free or at a very low cost.
that sounds like a lifesaver. So how do you know if you qualify for a PAP?
Well, each program has its own eligibility requirements. Usually it's based on income, your insurance status, and what kind of medical condition you have.
Okay, so do your research.
Yeah.
See if you qualify.
Yeah. You can usually find information about eligibility on the drug company's website or by calling their patient assistance program directly.
Okay, so we've learned a lot today about saving money on prescriptions. We've got generics, insurance, cash payments, Medicare Part D, online pharmacies, discount programs, PAPs. It's a lot to take in.
It is. But the most important thing is to remember that you have options and you don't have to figure this out alone.
Yeah, don't give up. There's help out there.
Exactly. Your doctor, your pharmacist, patient advocacy organizations, there are people and resources available to help you.
Okay, this has been really helpful, but we're not quite done yet, right?
Yeah. Not quite. Stick around for the final part of the deep dive. We're going to wrap up our discussion and leave you with some things to think about.
See you in a few.
And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into saving money on prescription drugs.
It's been a journey, hasn't it?
It really has. I feel like I've learned so much.
We've covered a lot of ground. Generics, insurance, cash payments, online pharmacies, those discount programs, and patient assistance programs.
Yeah, so many strategies to try.
It can feel overwhelming at times.
It really can, but I think the important thing is that there are so many options.
Exactly. And you don't have to navigate this alone.
That's a really good point. There are resources and people available to help.
Absolutely. Your doctor, pharmacist, patient advocacy groups, they can all provide guidance and support.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some of the key takeaways our listeners should remember?
Well, I think the most important thing is to always ask for a generic version of your medication.
Yeah, generics are usually much cheaper.
And they're just as effective. Right, it's the same medication, just a different name.
Exactly. And remember, knowledge is power. So take the time to understand your insurance plan. What's covered, what's not, what tier your medications are on, all that stuff.
Yeah, it can be confusing, but it's worth it to figure it out.
It really is. And don't be afraid to shop around. Compare prices from different pharmacies, both online and brick and mortar, see who has the best deal.
That's a great tip.
And if you're really struggling financially, definitely look into those patient assistance programs. They can be a real lifesaver.
So the bottom line is there's no shame in asking for help.
None at all. There are resources and people out there who want to help you get the medications you need at a price you can afford.
That's a great message to end on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into prescription savings.
It's been a pleasure.
If you found this episode helpful, be sure to like and subscribe to the deep dive so you don't miss out on future episodes. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.